Hey everybody, it's Trevor here with the channel where every day is range day, and in this week's video we're going to be going over a couple quick methods for cleaning your AR-15. Let's check it out. Now first and foremost, whenever you're going to be cleaning or doing any kind of maintenance on a firearm of any kind, it's important to make sure it's clear. And of course we are. That being said, it's also a pretty good idea to just keep ammo in another room in case you're cleaning magazines or putting a gun back together, just to make sure that there's no way possible that ammo can get into a weapon that you're working on. But moving on from there, we're going to be going over two quick methods for cleaning your AR-15. One's going to be more or less just a quick range day type tune-up that's less cleaning and more just making sure you're good to go. And then the next method is going to be a bit more of a thorough cleaning where you actually take some of the gun apart and get to some of the internals, but I don't tend to do that any more than once a year or so. And on the topic of cleaning firearms in general, any kind of modern weapon, be it a pistol or a rifle or anything like that, a modern day type firearm really doesn't need to be cleaned after every time you shoot it or even after every couple months. Generally they tend to run even if they're a little bit dirty, and as long as you don't have dirt or sand or something caked up in the action, it should be pretty good to go. Some people like to keep their guns pristine and sparkling clean all the time. I'm not one of those, but I do like to give it a good cleaning every now and again, and it also just lets me look the gun over to see if there may be any other problems, and it never hurts to just clean and re-oil your firearms. And in terms of cleaning materials or kits, you can get all kinds of different things, be it big kits with multiple bristles and brushes, all kinds of oils and cleaning cloths for a multitude of different firearms, or if you only have a couple guns, you can get some caliber specific cleaning tools. Here in front of me, all I have is a good cleaning mat, more or less just so I don't dent the table up too much. A little bit of lubricating gun oil. I also use this to clean with a little bit. You don't really need anything super fancy. This is a bore snake type product here. It's not a bore snake brand. It's just some $11 barrel cleaner I got off of Amazon. These are pretty handy, and it's really all you need to clean off most of the gun and the barrel. And I also have another little nylon brush that usually comes with the pistol, just to clean away any heavier dirt or debris that might be on your firearm. Other than that, I don't really use all that much. You can get multiple two-stage cleaners, different foam or precision applicators, things like that. You can make it as simple or as complicated as you want it. But these three things, gun oil, barrel cleaner, bore snake, and then just a little nylon brush is all you really need to get a good cleaning. But the first little cleaning method, of course, is just what I'm going to call a range day tune-up, and this is more or less just making sure there's no large chunks of dirt or debris in your firearm that you can visibly see, and then just oiling up the bolt and some of the internals very quickly just before you go for a range session. You don't need anything more than a brush if you really have some dirt on there, and then just some gun oil. This takes just a minute or two and it'll make sure that you're in tip-top shape for a range day. First off, be sure to check again that your firearm is in fact clear. First, I would just lay your AR flat and just do a drop or two on the bolt right here, like that, and then flip it upside down. You can look down inside the mag well and just get another drop or two on the bolt from upside down. Then you can just kind of hold the weapon in various positions, letting that oil start to run all over the place. Cycle the action just a little bit to kind of get the oil working all over the internals of the bolt here, and then you should be pretty good to go there. There's not really any need to do too much more than that, again, unless your gun is just super dirty and you've been crawling through the mud with it or something. If that's the case, just take your little nylon brush and kind of work out the big chunks of what you can see, and you should be good to go. I like to do this right at the range before we get shooting for the day, and it takes just a couple seconds to plop a couple drops of oil on there. You don't need to soak the whole thing, but keeping your guns oiled is probably more important than keeping them fully clean, if you ask me. Again, not a super big deal or super time consuming, and it's also good to give your gun just a quick once over before you get shooting with it to make sure there's nothing in the way and everything looks to be in tip-top shape. And after that quick tune-up, you'll notice that all you really need is the gun oil. But if you're looking to give your rifle a bit more of a thorough cleaning, maybe a once a year type thing is about what I do, you actually want to take the upper and lower receivers apart, get the bolt out, look into the trigger mechanism, things like that, and just give everything a good wipe down and brushing to make sure you're clean and good to go all over. Now I'm going to take the gun apart into the two receiver sections, but I'm not going to show that because YouTube doesn't appreciate it. Alright, now that we have the two pieces taken apart, let's take a closer look at going through each one of these, what you should probably wipe off and clean, and where a couple drops of oil really goes a long way. Let's check it out. Alright everybody, now that we've got the gun apart here, we're going to start taking a look at just cleaning each of the two main pieces here, being the upper and the lower receiver. Since the upper receiver is a bit easier, we'll start with it first, so I'll get this out of the way. Now with the lower here, there's not too many pieces you actually need to be cleaning. The mag well's pretty straightforward, just kind of wipe it out if there's anything in here, but the main thing to call attention to is of course just the hammer and trigger mechanism in here. You can see on mine it's not too bad, but there's a little bit of dirt on top of the hammer, so I grabbed the microfiber here and we'll just kind of wipe some of this gunk off of here. That's really about it. You just want to kind of look down in here in the hammer and where the trigger mechanism is all housed and see if there's any gunk or dirt. If you really have something caked up in here, you could take a nylon brush like this or something, just kind of fish it out of here. But for the most part, that's all you should have to do. But before we're done, there's a couple spots on this that are pretty good to oil. One of them being the main interface of the hammer here. There are special greases and things that you can put on here that last a little bit longer than oil, but I don't have any of that, so I'll just take some of this gun oil here, put just a drop or so right there on the face of the hammer and call it good. The other thing to hit right before you're done cleaning this off is just get another drop of oil on each of your takedown pins here. Again, you don't need too much, but just a little bit will help with that in the future. And that is about it for the lower receiver. Now, setting that to the side and getting the upper receiver out, there's a bit more to work on with this, particularly with the bolt, the charging handle, and all that. So you can pull the charging handle back, the bolt comes out, so does the charging handle. You can set that aside. And now we're just left with the main upper here, not the firearm. Mine looks pretty good. There's a little bit of carbon buildup. Just kind of wipe that out in there, you can see there. And probably not even a big deal to have. A little bit of that comes out, as you can see. And you're pretty good to go on here. But the item left to clean on this upper receiver assembly is of course the barrel, and that's where our lovely bore snake type device comes in. Now, I've talked about using one of these on the pistol cleaning video that we also have up on the channel, and this is basically the same thing. This is just designed for rifles, so it's quite a bit longer, and I have mine of course sized for .223. They make them for all different calibers and weapon types, and you don't necessarily have to get anything name brand. This is just like a $10 one I found off Amazon. You can see it consists of like a rope portion with a little brass weight here. This is what you drop down the bore to make the string reach come out the other side. The string portion then transitions into the cleaning bit. This is basically just a cloth or a fiber weave here that cleans out everything on the inside. Most of them will have, that you can see up here on the front, just some little brass bristles up there to help give it a little extra scrub on its way out. It's as simple as that. I'm a big fan of these. You just drop the weight down the bore and give it a pull through once or twice is usually all you need. Even if it's super dirty, you should get basically everything out after 2 or 3 passes. I usually only do 2. Then of course you can hand wash and reuse these things as many times as you want. And if you ask me, it's a heck of a lot more convenient than always having to go through those little cotton swabs that you have to push and pull through the barrel every time. I didn't find that worked too great on the ARs here, but a little bore snake like this is like 10 bucks and it's probably the only one you're ever gonna need. If you have multiple guns with a bunch of different calibers, then you'll need more, but they're pretty inexpensive. And I should mention that this is also a quick cleaning step that can be done in your sort of range day tune-up that I talked about previously. It's just really difficult to film, so I left it for this part, so we'll see how I do. But basically with these bore snakes, you're gonna wanna drop the little brass piece right down there in the breech of the muzzle. Just set that right down in there. And then you just keep feeding the string down in here and it will eventually come out the bottom of the gun. As you can see here, the little brass piece has come out. So you just keep pulling that until the wired bristle piece comes through, and then I like to take the other end and get a couple wraps around my hand because it is kind of tough to pull. And then you just pull it on through the barrel. Again, it is quite a tight fit, but one pull is usually all you need, and that's a great way to just scrub out the barrel and clean anything that may have built up in there. And that's literally all it takes. Your bore snake comes out the other side. You can see there might be a little bit of dirt on it. Then you just roll it up, pack it up, and you're good to go. And that being said, as far as the solid main piece of the upper receiver, that is about all the quick cleaning that you really need to do. Again, if you were fishing around in the mud or doing something crazy with this, there might be more gunk in here you have to scrape out. But under most circumstances, this should about do it for you. Up next, just taking a quick look at the charging handle. Not much to do here either. Just go over it with a microfiber and get any carbon that may have built up on the thing. Make sure you get down in the little track if you really want to. And that should be nice and clean after that. Pretty simple piece. Then I just like to give it a drop or 2 of oil on the channels here. Spread it out a little bit because this is one of the main sliding parts. Again, you don't want to soak this thing and be too messy with the oil. But it is nice to have just a little on there to make sure everything's running smooth. But once it's wiped off and oiled for a little bit, that's pretty good for the charging handle. Last up is of course the bolt. Again, similar process here, not too much to do, just kind of wipe it down a little bit if there's a bunch of carbon and gunk on it. Most of it will accumulate in through here and then in this little channel. Again, it's not super critical to do this, but if you're taking the time once a year or so to take it all out, you might as well just give it a nice good cleaning. Just get everything wiped down, get all the carbon off of here, and you should be pretty good to go at that point. The only step is, of course, to oil after that. Of course, you can just put a couple drops of oil on here once it's already back installed on your rifle, like I showed you in the AR tune-up. Otherwise, you can just put a drop on it here or there. Make sure all these sliding surfaces have a nice little coat of oil on there to help keep everything running smoothly. And this is honestly the most important step of any kind of firearm maintenance, is to keep it oiled. Little bits of carbon that we've wiped off and things like that really aren't a big deal unless something crazy is going on and it's really built up. But more than likely, that's never going to be an issue. The other things are just the obvious, like dirt and all that, but keeping your firearm oiled is probably the most important step, and the bolt is one of the most important pieces for doing that. And all this black stuff that's coming off on my hands or on this microfiber here is probably going to never cause a malfunction unless it's super caked up after years and years and thousands of rounds. It's probably just not going to happen to somebody that's just shooting normally like you or I probably do. But keeping all these different sliding pieces like the charging handle or the bolt and everything oiled is way more important than scrubbing off a little bit of carbon. A well-oiled weapon will definitely run a lot better, and having one that is ran dry is definitely more likely to malfunction than one that just has a little bit of this black dust on it. But that being said, with the upper receiver, that's about all you really need to do. Drop a bore snake in here. You can even put a little cleaner or some gun oil when you pull it through the barrel, wipe out any debris here. Then just go through your charging handle and your bolt, wipe them off, give them a little bit of oil on the sliding surfaces, and you are good to go. Then just put your weapon back together, pop it back on the lower, and you should be good to go. Just cycle that action a couple times, get the oil nice and distributed, and now your AR is fresh and clean and ready to hit the range. That looks like it's going to be it for the video today, guys, on giving your AR-15 or another rifle a quick cleaning. We went through a quick range day tune-up, as I call it, where you just oil a couple key locations on your AR and you should be all good to go for a quick trip at the range. And then we also went through a bit more of a thorough cleaning, something that I only tend to do about once a year or so, where you actually take the gun apart, clean some of the internals, oil everything up, and then slap it back together. But overall, cleaning doesn't have to be super complicated or time consuming, and it's definitely not something that you really need to be doing after every time you shoot. You only need a couple items like some gun oil and probably a bore snake, and you should be good to go. Something like a microfiber cloth to wipe things down, or just a nylon brush to take care of any of the more significant debris. But other than that, you really don't need to make it that complicated. Of course, some people are super into cleaning their weapons, making sure they're sparkling clean all the time, and if that's you, knock yourself out. There's definitely no harm that can be done by cleaning your weapon every time and making sure that it's oiled. But I would probably recommend that you oil your weapons a bit more often than you clean them. It's just probably a bit more important. If you have any questions about any of the products or methods that we've talked about in this video, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. Also, feel free to share any cleaning products or maintenance routines that you found helpful as well. We'd love to hear from you. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like down below, and as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, where every day is range day. Thank you for watching.